Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, hello, hello.
I did the intro a bit wrong there, but it's all right. We'll carry on. Today is a special episode. It's the MK Lightning special. Now, we know there's a lot of MK fans out there, and we've got a very special guest who joined us earlier on this week, Rory Herrman. What an interview it was, Charlie.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. He's a good guy, and we had some really good banter with him as well, which is
Yeah.
always nice with the players. And yeah, it was a great interview. And MK fans, you're gonna love it. I really hope you do.
Yeah, he was able to have that friendly banter with us. And obviously, MK and Swindon have got a rivalry the past few years, and they're going to be the two teams near the top. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But before we do look at their roster and next season, which we'll go into in the second half of the podcast, let's look back at last season. And it wasn't a great season for MK, just like it wasn't a great season for the Swindon Wildcats, was it, Charlie?
No, their team was stacked, and they didn't manage to get the silverware which they've wanted. They got close in two of them for sure. They got to the semi-finals and got knocked out by Peterborough in a very Slavic game. Obviously, Phantoms went on to win that. Then they came runners-up, bridesmaids to Leeds Knights, and yeah, it would have been very disappointing for the players and the fans. They
Yeah.
obviously finished second, and a lot of people would think, "Oh, why would you be disappointed?" Because they needed to win silverware with the team they had last year,
Yeah.
and they're going to equip themselves again this year to win it.
Yeah, they had a lot of very, very good players. On paper, they were probably the best team in the league. Would you agree, Charlie?
At
If
the
you looked at
start,
their team at the start,
sure. At
and
the start,
they brought in the likes of Hopkins, Max Stewart as well. So they did bring players in throughout the season, but they just couldn't. I don't think they could get that consistency for the whole season. You look at Leeds, even the games they didn't play unreal in, they still grinded out the results. And I think in some of the games, MK just lost it, and maybe the tactics went out the window, and it came a bit more about the individuals. Would you say that?
and I'll say something, and I'll be brutally honest. I don't think they were good in the big games. I don't think they had the greatest record versus Leeds. They had a great overtime win at home, but I think Leeds got the best of them. In the cup semi-final, they got shut out at home, and as good as Slava is, you can't get shut out at home in a semi-final. And then in playoffs, they lost to the seventh seeded team, and I thought Taufa were really good, but MK had the ability in that squad where they should have been at Coventry,
Yeah.
and it just didn't click for them last year. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I think at times the team was playing like the best team in the league, but at
Yeah.
other times the
They had
team
some,
click in some games, and it just
yeah.
cost them. And on another day, you don't have Leeds losing 4.5 games or whatever they lost.
Yeah.
Like
They lost
MK
five
would have
games.
another season. 5 games. That's unheard of. I've never seen it. And
Yeah.
MK happened to be against Leeds last year, who were probably the highest standard we've seen since EPL. So they picked their wrong time to be runners up, sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, if we look at some of their players, two of them are now in the elite league, Sam Talbot and Sean Norris. They had pretty good seasons, and I hope they get the game time. I think they will get some game time. Sean Norris gone to Belfast and Guildford for Talbot. No, not Guildford, Coventry.
Yeah, Coventry. Yeah,
Coventry for Talbot and
Well, I don't know
Belfast
if
for
Talbot's team is announced. Let me just quickly check that. Oh no, he's at Guildford. Yeah,
Guildford. He
Sam
is at
Talbot
Guildford.
is at Guildford. Apologies.
That's all right. But yeah, so
Coventry, yeah.
they were good last season, but it's a completely new squad. They've had, well, let's just go through it. They've had Stuart, Talbot, Norris, and Bobby Chamberlain and Sarkanis all not going to be with them next season, and that was their top point scorers from second all the way to sixth. So
And then you've also got their eighth top point scorer taken out, their 10th top point scorer taken out, their 12th, and their 15th. They've had a big chunk of this squad taken out, and they've brought in a amazing second squad, and we'll go into that in a second.
We'll go into that a bit later. But yeah, I echo what you said, really. You explained it quite good. I think they were unlucky to come against a really good Leeds team who were very good this season. If it had not been for Leeds being so good, they might have won something. But I think the not making the playoffs was just the cherry on the cake, really, of a disappointing season. And they're going to have high expectations for next season. As much as it is a new team, they've brought in a lot of good players.
And there's excitement. There's excitement for MK fans. You are watching a whole new squad. I know with Swindon when we sign a couple players, we always like Labuele and Billing this year, for example. We're literally sat there, me and Jack talking, oh, I can't wait to see Labuele's wrist shot. I can't wait to see Billing and how good his two-way game is. The MK fans, they can't wait to see their old team
Yeah.
because they got so many
It'd be
new
interesting
players.
to see if those guys they have signed click. And Tim Wallace has got a second season now where I'm sure he's done a lot of homework on last season, and he's obviously brought in some amazing players. He was their top point scorer last season. Do you think he's going to take a bit more? He's going to play, but do you think he'll take a bit more of a step back to try and focus on coaching the team properly?
I don't think he will. In an honest way, I think Tim Wallace gets the points and he'll put himself on in the scenarios where he thinks he's going to be most effective. And Tim Wallace, great player, good two-way game, good shot. At times, could he play a little bit less? Potentially. But that's up for debate. And at the end of the day, he puts the team on his back in big moments of games and he scores big points. And it's a big year for him to prove that he is a top coach in this league and win a trophy for sure.
Whilst also putting the numbers up as a player, because he is
we
one
know
of their
he's a
imports.
top player.
He takes up an import slot, so he's got to put up some good points. A word on the MK fans, as much as we don't like some of them, the majority of them are unbelievable, and they are big for this league because they probably have the biggest fan base. Would you say they get the most people at the stadium? They're absolutely buzzing every single game. It is very intimidating when we go. What would you say on the MK fans? Because the majority of them are really, really good fans.
MK fans. I'm not a particular fan of MK, but I can respect how good they are as fans. I see that as the biggest game of the season for me, and that's a compliment to MK. I love beating MK. If I could pick one game to win every year, it's away in MK because it's the best place to win, because it's the worst place to lose. And that's what I'm going to say. I don't like MK massively, but I'm happy to admit that their fans, the loudest in the league, their fans, they bring the most, they bring the numbers. Even at Telford, it sounded like they were loud until the end when they got knocked out of the playoffs. So fair play to them. And I'm looking forward to going to Milton Keynes this year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, but not looking forward to it at the same time. One player they have brought in is Rory Herrman. Shall we get into the interview? Because we've got a big second half of the podcast to go. So let's get into the interview. Unreal interview with Herrman. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey. We've got a special guest. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, we would like to welcome onto the podcast today a power forward who took the NIHL by storm last year. He spent his junior time in America and played in the NCAA. He came down to the National League last year, scoring 23 goals in 22 games. He's a huge signing for his new team, the MK Lightning. We'd like to welcome onto the podcast Rory Herman. How are you doing, mate?
Doing great. I'm very happy to be back in England.
Hey, yeah. How was it? Because I heard you came in yesterday. Was the flight all right?
Happy to be back in England, and I flew over yesterday from the West Coast of the United States.
Yeah.
So it took about 10.5 hours, and feeling really happy to be back.
Yeah, finally back. We've got a few weeks to go. Have you managed to get some practice in over the summer? Some hockey?
Yeah, I practiced. Did a lot of hockey this summer. Did in the beginning of the summer, did some roller hockey, and then later in the summer, did all my ice hockey training.
Do you want to take us back to when you played in Canada in the NCAA? How was that, and how did you get into the league?
I was playing NCAA. I was playing in New York, so we were playing in the ECAC, and that league is made up of all the Ivy League schools, so Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Cornell, and then there was like 4 or 5 prestigious schools that were known for like being really good educational schools, but also had like very historic hockey programs. So I played for a really historic team in the ECAC that had won a couple national championships. One of them was in 1985, and the other one was, I think, 1955 or 1956.
Okay.
So it'd been a while since they'd won national championship, but the school had a lot of history. It's called Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and I went there for 3.5 years, and then graduated with a business degree,
Hmm.
and played all my hockey there, and then came over here last year, halfway through the year.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice. Go on, Charlie.
So yeah, we'll talk about that because you've led us in nicely. The Cardiff Devils, how did that come around, and how did you find it going to Cardiff?
I had an hockey coach that when I went to prep school for 1 year in New Hampshire, and I met him on the East Coast. So I started playing like my youth hockey in the West Coast and played in San Diego and Los Angeles. And then after I wanted to leave, I checked out a couple schools that had good hockey programs on the East Coast and went there for 1 year and met the coach, and he ended up becoming like a lifelong friend of mine. So I told him that I had my British passport because my mom's from Liverpool, so I had that
Okay.
since birth, and he always told me that, oh, would you ever be interested in going and playing hockey over in England? And I was like, yeah, I definitely would. And this is like, I mean, almost 9 years ago now he was talking to me about this. So then when the time came, I just called him and said, hey, like, I'm interested in going over. Is there anything you can do for me? And he said, yeah, I could help get you on a team. And then a few weeks went by, and he called and was like, do you want to go to Cardiff? And I was like, yeah, I'll go to Cardiff. And pretty much it was like a bang bang play in hockey, like it really didn't take long. It was just a fast decision, and I was 100% positive that I wanted to come over here and play. I was really looking forward to it. Um, so when the opportunity came up, it was pretty easy to take it and,
Yeah.
just go from there.
Well, you haven't played in any European hockey in your career up until Cardiff, but you said you had family from England. So was it quite easy to settle in Cardiff?
Yeah, it was quite easy. I've been coming to England, specifically Liverpool, since I was a kid. And I pretty much, grew up in a household that was very familiar with, you know, all the UK items, like a nice big British breakfast with all the tomatoes, sausage, bacon, like beans. Like my mom could make pretty much anything. She was a real good cook. So growing up, we had like, a really European household. So when I came of age and started realizing that like coming over here was a real possibility, I was pretty excited for it. Um, and
Yeah.
now that I've been here, I was only here about 4 months last year, and coming back this year, I can say it's been the best time of my life.
What would you
Mhm.
say are like the main differences then? Because obviously you played in America for a long time, and you come down. You played a few games for Cardiff. Were you shocked at the level in England? Because a lot of people don't really think of England having an big ice hockey team. So were you shocked by the level?
Yeah, I'd say that the hockey here is, a lot better than anybody might anticipate. Um, I've known a couple guys in the past that were very high level hockey players that had gone over here or had come over here from North America, and they had so many good things to say about playing hockey in England and all the players here that when I came over here, I had a little bit of expectation, but I didn't know it was going to be a sport that was supported to the extent it is,
Yeah.
with like teams in, two leagues that are selling out games and fans that are coming up to you. When I was in Telford and Cardiff, like fans would come up to me and say hello just in the community. So it means that they had either gone to the game and seen me play and seen the team play, or like they write things in the paper and put things on Facebook. So it's pretty heavily supported, and I was probably most surprised about how supported it was by its
Yeah.
fans. But I mean, it makes sense because, like, with how fast the game hockey is and all the aggression, it's a pretty fun thing to go see on the weekend with like your family. And,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily something that like is or has been a tradition in the past, not like football or rugby or cricket. It's still kind of a new sport.
Yeah,
So it's something that everybody can get excited about and support like its journey of growth. So,
yeah.
and I'm assuming like from what people say, like the game has grown probably a lot in the last 10 years here.
Yeah, we go as a family, and I 100% agree with what you're saying. You get a lot of families going. I think it's just a good vibe. The hockey community is really good in the Elite League and the NIHL. How did you find your time at Cardiff? Because I think you played 7 games. Was it really competitive to get those spots in the team?
They had a pretty set team when I showed up. So like when I got there, I was kind of signed as injury cover. They needed a extra forward. Like they I think they I came in as like the left wing on the fourth line. So for me it was just like come in and work hard, like bottom six players have to do. Like you just have to accept your role and do what you can. So I was pretty confident in my game, but they signed a guy like a few weeks after me, and
Yeah.
he ended up being a veteran guy, and he just was like the guy that they wanted to play in those situations because he had been playing a lot of pro hockey. I think he had over like 10 years of pro hockey experience. So for me, it was like um, the coach just said that like at my age, I'm a young player getting into pro hockey. I need to be playing, and their decision was to play him. So in order to play, I'd have to go to another team. And at Telford, that's when Telford came in and
Yeah.
said that they were interested in me, and they just kind of offered me to go there, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, it was a risk leaving college early, or at least it was like in the middle of the year. It was a risk leaving in the middle of the year to come over here, and then it was a risk to like go to Telford. But I can say that my time in Cardiff and my time in Telford last year were both great risks because I learned a lot and met a lot of new people. And I initially was like, a little bit stressed about getting cut from the team and then going to Telford because, I didn't know what that was going to entail. But, I met so many great people there that it was one of the best experiences in my life. And I was extremely happy that it happened.
Yeah, and you took the National League by storm. I think it's fair enough saying. You scored 44 points in 21 games, and that's one of the best scoring records I believe I see in your career. So, how did you suddenly just switch it on when you came to National League? Was it that role difference and getting the responsibility on your shoulders?
Yeah, you could say that. I just felt that there was really nothing to lose for me in my career. I just started my professional hockey career, but the last 7 years, although I wasn't being paid to play hockey, it's, the NCAA might as well be professional hockey. And then the league I was playing juniors in, the USHL, is like pretty much all Division 1 guys and all NHL guys. So, um, I figured that like my experience that I had in the last 7 years of high level hockey, I really just needed a place to go to showcase that. And when I was in college, I showcased like a lot of things I learned in the USHL and was able to like play pretty good in college. But I was mostly like a bottom six guy and PK player, so I didn't really play too much. And then Cardiff, same thing, like bottom six, like a couple games where I only got like 1 or 2 shifts, just kind of how the game was going. But when I got to Telford, I was playing pretty regular shifts, power play, penalty kill, and I just kind of was like, if they're giving me the opportunity to, uh,
Yeah.
you know, with ice time, like might as well take advantage of it by, playing with confidence and swagger and, fill the net with goals and have some nice assists and try and
Yeah.
win some hockey games.
Yeah, how was it playing under Tommy Watkins? Because he gave you the opportunity, and he's a great coach. He's won plenty of league titles. How was it playing under him? And do you think he really got the best out of you as a coach?
Yeah, I really believe he did. He, is someone that has been involved in UK ice hockey for so many years. And I
Yeah.
was supposed to go to his testimonial this year,
Oh
and
yeah,
it was like a couple of weeks before leaving um, San Diego. So I had some stuff going on at home that I had to take care of. But, I reached out to him and talked to him like pretty much all summer. Like, asking him questions and things like about his testimonial game, and they made like a Facebook page, and like for them to represent his career and what he's done makes sense because when I was there, you could just see how much he loves hockey and how
Yeah.
much of a really smart hockey guy he is. Like he's constantly learning about the game, which some coaches they might come out of their hockey career thinking that they learned everything, and their job as a coach is to just kind of use what they learned in their career to help guys. But there's also some coaches that when they're done playing, they continue to learn about the game. And he's one of those guys is that just, you know, is always wanting to grow his knowledge of the game of hockey. And I think as a player, you see something like that and it makes you want to work hard for that person.
100%. You had
Yeah.
to play in a lot of rinks, and a lot of different size rinks in our league. You got Slough, which is a very small rink, but then you got Sheffield, which has a very big ice pad. How did you find adjusting to those different ice pads? Because I can imagine they're a bit different to the ones you played in America.
Yeah, a little different. Like USHL, all the rinks were really, really nice. And especially when I was in Green Bay, like we had, I think like a 10,000 seat arena,
Wow.
and I mean, we'd sell out like a couple of those games a year, and average attendance was like 5,000. Played in Fargo. Those rinks were, I think that rink was about 4,000 fans that they would sell out almost every game. And then when my freshman year of college came around, I was playing at RPI, and that rink it was an older rink in NCAA, but still like really, really nice. And we were getting like, 3,000 or 4,000 fans a game. And then you play like a team like Cornell where we get like 8,000 fans, or, my numbers might be a little bit off on how many fans, but they would pack the rink, and, they're like really nice ice sheets. So when I came over here, it was like a couple rinks. I was like, oh, these aren't the best, but kind of reminded me of when I was playing in San Diego growing up, because Southern California, it's not necessarily, there's some really nice rinks there, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely some ones that aren't the best that you go and like have to play a game on, and
Yeah.
you pretty much have to just change your style of game to like what the rink has. Like if it's a rink with small corners, it's not like you're going to be able to do anything. You might as well just shoot the puck if you're
Yeah.
you know like some rinks are just like that. But I don't mind it, honestly. Like it was almost like what kind of rink we have here. Okay, well we'll try and use like whatever it is to my advantage.
Yeah.
Like just try and make the most of it, really.
So we'll have a lot of MK fans watching this, obviously, as you've signed for them. And how would you describe your game to the MK fans? And then give us an NHL player you'd compare yourself to.
My game is, I'd say my game is really well rounded. I've played a lot of different roles in my career, and in the USHL, like played 3 years there. So I started as like a fourth line, third line, second line. In college, I played a lot of different roles, and then I'd say like my overall game is just like a really gritty, tenacious forward that is not going to let the defense off the hook.
Yeah.
I pretty much like I'm a ball of energy, and when I have the puck on my stick, I want to make plays. So I'd just say like I'm a well-rounded, skilled hockey player. If there's a guy in the NHL I compare myself to, I try and pull from like a lot of different players.
Yeah.
Like Sidney Crosby is my favorite player, I'd say, for how well-rounded he is, because he has really good skills, and he also does like the little things well, like really good in the D zone, really good at face-offs, really good at protecting the puck, has like a lethal backhand.
He's just
Like
got
that
it
guy
all, in
shoots the puck as yeah, he's got everything. So, I look at him and I try and pull like mainly like the puck protection part of his game, and then I look at like third, fourth liners like Milan Lucic, who are just like tenacious in the corner and win all their puck battles.
Yeah.
And then I'd say like, guys that are newer in the league that I played against in the USHL, like Trevor Zegras or
Wow.
Jack Hughes, like
Yeah.
those guys, like, I was playing against those guys when I was like 18, 19, 20, and um,
It's just nuts.
you
Isn't
just
it?
like you see the skills that they're doing, and it just was like, okay, well, these guys are got really good hands and really good edge work. So in the summer, I'm gonna work on that. So pretty much every summer is like an opportunity to learn some of those skills. Because like the
Yeah.
way the game is now, it's so fast and guys are so skilled that like you can't really just play like one role. Like you have to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
So for me, I just try and be like versatile and watch different guys. So I don't really know who I'd say I play the most like.
No, it's good.
Um,
Get a bit of everything.
I got that question a lot in college, and I just never knew really how to answer it. I like gave them like one or two players, and I was like, man, I like this player, but I
You,
also like five or six other
yeah,
players.
you're
So
your own player, so
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm my own player. I just try and play my game.
yeah. How did the move come about to MK then? Because you finished at Telford, you played at Coventry actually as well. Did Tim Wallace get in touch with you straight after the season?
I don't even remember. It was like right when the season ended because we had beaten them
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
in
you
the
knocked out your
first
new team.
round. Yeah, we beat them in the first round. So I think we were the 7th seed
Yeah.
and they were the
They were
2
the
seed.
second seed,
So
yeah.
yeah, they were the 2 seed. So that was an upset for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so we upset them in playoffs. So I just remember like when we got past that first round, we were going to Coventry and pretty much all the guys on the team were focusing on Coventry, and then we played Leeds in the semifinal, and I think we
It was
lost by one
very
goal,
close,
so
yeah. You gave him a really good
kind of a
game considering.
heartbreaker.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, we would have had two upsets. Like we got the one upset in the first round, and then the second round we were looking
Yeah.
to do the same thing against Leeds. It didn't end up happening, but we still played a really good game.
Yeah,
But yeah,
100%.
then after like we lost that game, I was just like, like the next week I was like, oh man, like that second upset would have been so sick. So I don't even remember when he called. I think it was like 2 weeks after,
Yeah.
maybe 3 weeks after. I was in Liverpool with my family. We ended the season, and then I drove up to Liverpool to meet my grandma, and my mom, and my girlfriend came, and we were up there for like 2 weeks with my family, just hanging out, seeing all my relatives that I hadn't seen in a while. And then after that, my sister was graduating college in Madrid, so we went over to Spain. And I signed the contract when I was on vacation in
Oh,
Barcelona.
wow.
So it
Some
was kind
place
of
to sign
like
the
I don't even
contract.
remember the dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just was like we had ended the season and it was oh man, I was sad for about a week because I was having such a great time in Telford.
Yeah.
But then it's like after about a week, you kind of take another week to relax a bit, and then when Tim called me, I had to start seriously thinking about like what next year looked like. And
Yeah.
when he called me a few times and just kind of told me everything. And I heard from a couple players that had played here that it was a really great place to play and live. So just really based on the word of mouth of people that I had met here,
Yeah.
um,
They've
I
they've
just
got
decided to sign here.
they've got one of the biggest fan bases in the league. You're definitely wow. Did you play a few games in? You played there in the
Yeah, they
playoff
knocked him
game.
out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I played 2 or 3 games at
yeah,
the Planet Ice here in Milton Keynes,
yeah,
and both of those games were just packed.
yeah.
I don't know if the fans appreciated like
No, they
me
do.
scoring a couple goals
Oh no.
against them in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Oh no, no, don't like
No,
that,
they're pissed. I think they're not necessarily too pleased about that at the time, but now that I'm playing here, hopefully they can forgive me for that, and hopefully I can
100%.
produce like a bunch of goals and assists and wins for them so they can forget about that because
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is kind of weird.
Go on,
yeah. I'm
Charlie.
sure they will. So I know obviously last year you had a great season, but you got a full season this year, hopefully going into it. What's your expectations for yourself, and what's your expectations for the team?
High expectations.
Yeah.
I don't really put too much pressure on myself because you know I don't really need to put pressure on myself. Like I know my abilities,
Yeah.
and it's more the expectations of the fans because our team, the ownership here went out and signed, some really good players. Like my roommate,
Quality players,
he
yeah.
told me to, yeah, he told me to mention him on the podcast because you guys are Swindon guys, and he grew up there. Is
Oh,
Tom
it's Rutgers.
Ruckus?
Oh,
Oh,
Rutgers.
Yeah,
We
we
love
wanted him
yeah,
Thomas.
back.
We really wanted him
yeah.
back.
He's like the nicest guy. I met him
He's so
yesterday, and
nice.
he's we're skating tonight. So
Oh, nice.
I mean he's in Dundee. Like he's a friggin' great player, and
He's so quick.
all the other guys. It's a fairly new team, so it'll
It
be
is.
interesting to see how everything goes. But I mean, on paper, you look at our team and you just think, oh my gosh, like people are probably gonna ask, like, what do you expect for the season? And like all you can really say is like great things.
Yeah, you've got
So
very big
I think
roster.
that I think that we're gonna win a lot of games, and I think we have a really good chance of winning the three trophies that the league has to offer. So I'm
100%.
excited.
We're as Swindon Wildcat fans, we're hoping we can try and stop you guys winning some.
Yeah, it's gonna be
I mean, I get that. I totally respect that. You guys are fans
Oh,
of your team, but
100%. It's
you
all about
know,
the rivalry.
yeah, no, I feel that. No, I love that. I think that uh, Swindon, like the team we played last year, like they always have really good teams from what I heard. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play Swindon this year, and I met some of the guys in Swindon last year, and they were really nice guys. So
Yeah,
um,
it's gonna be.
it's like we'll see you guys.
I think us two teams obviously bias a bit, but I think us two teams will be near the top battling it out. So yeah, I'm expecting some big games, and you'll probably score quite a few on us
There
as
you
well.
go. Yeah, no, it'll be good, man. There are gonna be some good games.
Yeah, we've
Did-
had a great rivalry with MK over the years, Swindon, especially in the recent ones. So
yeah, it'll be good.
yeah, we always find it nerve-wracking going to the planet Ice and MK.
Yeah, the Swindon fans are pretty cool too. Like the game we won last year, they were all pressed up on the glass and
Yeah.
friggin' barking and everything.
That's
I,
probably
I,
me.
I was going to ask. I was going to ask actually, because it's such a new team. You had a lot of players. Well, MK had a lot of players leaving, and yourself has come in. You got Toms who's come in. You got Harry Gulliver who's coming from the Raiders, and Venus as well from the Elite League. Is that a worry, or is it going to be a real big challenge for you guys to click and get the ball rolling?
I think it's like a challenge every year, like at the beginning of the year, and um, there's some teams that try their absolute hardest to click and it just never happens. I think that our team is all new guys, so you know, beginning of the season, definitely have to spend time getting to know one another because
Yeah,
like it's a team game and you're only as good as like the next guy. Like it doesn't really matter. Like you can't win as an individual, like in a team sport. You just can't do it.
yeah,
So for a team thing, like I think our coaches and the owners have done really good job like doing
yeah,
like they put a couple things on the schedule that are like team activities that don't involve hockey. Some guys think that like maybe team activities have to involve hockey or, you know, we have to like be at the rink all the time, but we're doing a couple things that are outside the rink that guys can kind of like turn their hockey brains off and just like treat each other as normal people.
yeah.
So
That's really good.
that's in my opinion, like, yeah, like when we did a lot of things in college as a team outside the rink and, like it's like all about camaraderie and brotherhood.
Yeah,
So I think that this year, like the couple things that we have to do as a team that are outside the rink will definitely mold the team and create like some good camaraderie and some good brotherhood so that when we're in games, like we're willing to sacrifice and do anything for the guy next to us.
yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be too difficult, honestly. I think that the guys on our team are probably going to buy into like just, trying to win. And
Yeah.
every year, like teams get put together to try their absolute hardest to win. And each game is a battle, and you go to war with your brothers next to you.
Yeah, 100%. We're coming to the end. I've got one last question, and then Charlie always finishes on his question. What is your go-to meal in England? Do you have a favorite, a Chinese, an Indian?
Well, I had an Indian last night.
Yeah.
That was my first meal here. I definitely miss the Indian food because it's unbelievable here. Some of the best food I've ever had was in Telford and at the Indian place there that sponsored our team. They were nice people.
Yeah.
And then I'd say my go-to, man, I don't know. People kind of dog on British cuisine. I don't mind it. I honestly, my favorite thing here is going to any restaurant and getting just a nice full English breakfast.
English breakfast. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You can't beat
you
it. You
can't
cannot
beat
beat
it.
it.
You can, and especially if you go to a place that does it like just really good. There's
Yeah.
some bougie places that do like the fancy English breakfast, and you're like, oh, I don't know about this place. But you're like, oh man, those freaking beans are so good. This toast is so good. Like these eggs are delicious. I'd say that's something that I miss. And then I say that like just your standard, like I know this might sound kind of stupid, but your standard like meal deal
Oh,
from
yeah.
Boots or M&S. You go in, you get like a little sandwich, a snack, and a nice big water, soda, or energy drink or something. It's like £4, and you're like, oh man, this is unreal.
It's easy, isn't it?
So,
Okay.
Go on,
yeah, it's
Charlie.
not bad.
Oh, sorry, the final question is, what is your message to the MK Barmy Army, the MK fans?
Okay, my message to them is when you come to the games, be loud. Because the players, when you're at the game and you're screaming and you're chanting, you don't want to be saying like too mean of things to the other team, but definitely try and get in their heads and help the MK boys out. We'll be on the bench, we'll be on the ice going to war for you guys and playing our asses off for you, for all the fans. So scream, chant, friggin' clap.
Yeah, we appreciate you hopping on, and we'll see you back at the Link Center.
Sounds good. I'm shouting out my roommate, Tom's Ruckus again. Great guy. Love the guy. Swindon guy. Obviously, he said that he loves you guys and all you guys are doing for the game. I really, I'm so happy I got to come on this podcast. Like, it's cool. You guys are cool guys, and keep going, man. And if you guys ever want to talk again, just I'm an open book. I got so many hockey stories, but no, I really appreciate you guys.
We'll get you for a long one during the season. We'll get a proper hockey talks long one once MK.
Yeah, hit me up.
Winning the league.
What do you mean, man? We're winning.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. To be fair, in my predictions, a little sneak peek. I do have MK at number 1 right now, so yeah, we'll have to see.
Oh, you're trying to play mind games with me, man. You're trying to play mind games with me. It's in my first rodeo.
Yeah. Oh, well, we appreciate it, Rory.
Guys.
Thank you. Hello, welcome back. Thank you again, Rory Herman, for hopping on. A great laugh, and he's going to have a even better season, do you think, Charlie?
He'll have a very different season. Unbelievable player, but his role's different, which is good for him. He's not going to have to put the team on his back quite as much, so he can focus on lots of different things. And he's coming on.
He's living with our ex-player Tom's Rutkus as well, who said he would come on the podcast. So we'll have to get Rutkus on at some point in the season. Let's get into the team though, because they've brought in a lot of players. They've probably had the most changes out of any team in the league. But they have had some changes in the keeper. Let's start with the keeper, Charlie, because they have had some changes.
So we'll just bring in the other 2 keepers. You've got Will Curlin as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Daniel Norton, who's on a 2-way. He's 2005, so very young with MK Thunder. There's one thing which I want to mention already. The depth of this MK team. They can cope with injuries. Like, if Will Curlin gets injured, they've still got, I don't know how good he is, but they've got a backup already there. Yeah. And Will Curlin is a great backup in this league. I think he could do with playing less games. I think he struggled with the volume of games last year, and he had an 8.82 save percentage, which isn't the greatest, but I think he can improve on that. It's his first year as a proper men's starter in hockey. And if he plays 10, 15 games in the league, he can focus on going, in them 10, 50 games, I want to be as sharp as I possibly can. Yeah. So I think he's a great backup to have. But Jordan
and then
Headley.
You got Headley.
What do you think?
He's played for us before, and he showed some really good signs as a backup to Lyle. And then obviously he went to the Elite League. He's had some games with Coventry as well, which is good. He came back to MK last season. I don't think he was at his best last season, and maybe that's because he hasn't been used to playing so many games in a row. But he's had that first season now in the NIHL, and I think this season he will be even better. What do you think, Charlie? I think he'll be better.
I think the pressure's on Headley this year, and it's me saying it in an honest way. And I'll just explain my point. I saw a lot online about the best goalies in the league, and for me, you've got Gospel and Zamodra as 1-2. And then you've got that third with, for me, Rennie Marr, Jordan Headley. Goalies like that are in that third battle. And I think Headley needs to solidify that. I get he's the GB third choice, but he doesn't play for GB. And last year, I think he struggled at times and he didn't win a trophy. And I think goalies, at the end of the day, you look at the NHL, Vasilevsky and Shesterkin. Vasilevsky's better because he's got the trophies under the back. Yeah. He's shown he can do it in the big moments. I think this is a huge season for Headley to basically say that he's potentially breaks into being a top 2 goalie in the National League. And I think he's got the ability. It's just about showing it at this level and performing at this level. And I think it's a huge season for Headley. I really do. I think he's probably the most important MK Lightning player. And I think that's a big statement.
I think he's got just as big a season as Rennie Marr. And I think equally, if Swindon and MK want a chance to get that trophy, I was going to call it Premier League trophy, the NIHL league winning trophy, they need to be at their best for, I'd say, 75-80% of the season. Because you're always going to have your off games, and that's where your backup will come in, though.
I think this is where I disagree, because Sam Gospel last year, he was good for 95% of games.
He was, but that's unusual for a keeper. He's not. I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate that again, though.
But that's why Leeds won the league. He was their most important player last year because he wins them games they don't deserve to win. And I think if you want a goalie to win the National League, you have to be so consistent at this level now. And I really think that for the goalies in this league this season, especially for the teams which are going to be challenging, the pressure's on because the schedule is intense and the rest isn't very heavy. But when you got backup like Curlin, the important thing for Headley is he can take a rest day if he plays the Swindon Wildcats the day before. But I think, like we both agree on, the goalie is huge for them and they've got depth in goal.
The only thing I will say is I think he can be 80% if the defence in front of him is going to be solid, because I think there was times last season where he was just left to dry sometimes. And they have brought in a very, very big D-man. Unfortunately, they had to say goodbye to Lee Jameson, who has hung up his skates. But who have they brought in, Charlie? Because this is, for me, he is top 3 D-men in the league. That's a bold statement, but I just think he is so calm and solid as a D-man. So who is it, Charlie?
They brought in Ben Soldier.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Ben Soldier?
He's one of the best two-way defensemen in the National League. He's not got this point scoring prowess, which a lot of D-men have, but he's got this two-way game where he's so solid defensively. He's a really good puck mover, and he's that D-man which goes under the radar for what he does. He just defends really well and then moves the puck to the forwards. And then if they need him, they can give it back to him, and he's a reliable defender. And I think it's a huge shine-in for MK and their D-core, because
it adds a bit of calmness into their defense. I think that's what they need. When the game's getting a bit out of hand, maybe they've conceded a couple of goals against the run of play, you throw out Soldier and he's just going to calm it down. You can pass a puck to him, and I've rarely seen him make a mistake. So I think that's a good addition.
We watched him at Manchester as well one time. Yeah. And he played really well in that game. That was about 2-3 years ago. Yeah. So Ben Soldier, it's great.
It's a big signing, but they've got a lot of returnees for next season, but a big season for Malik as well. He's had that whole season now in the National League last season. He's not going to be with Stretton this season. He'll have the full season with MK. And he looks like he's settling slowly into the league. So it's a big season for him as well, Charlie.
Yeah, Malik Summer, a very talented player, good skater, really good puck mover. On that MK ice, he thrives.
Yeah.
I believe he deserves a top 4 role in this decor. So for him, he's going to get more ice time, more opportunity, and more minutes, which is only going to benefit him.
Just to name the other D-man returning, they've got Sam Russell as well, who's on a 2-way. They've got Edward Naggs, Ross Green, James Griffin, and Lewis Christie. And then they've got a 2-way with Callum Burr, and they've brought in Ben Davies as well. Not the Ben Davies for Cardiff, a different Ben Davies. But the one thing I've got a big point, and I said this right at the start, on elite prospects, I know they're not bang on with the height, but they haven't got a single D-man who is over 5'11". Is that a problem going into this season, Charlie? Not having a big D-man?
Yes. Yes. We'll go on to my thoughts on MK's weakness later on. And when I say weakness, they don't really have one if they click. But
it is a point which teams could attack. I think I know what you're going to say. But yeah, they don't have a D-man over 5'11" according to elite prospects.
Physically, their D-men aren't the biggest either. You got Christie, who can chuck his body around, and Griffin
will chuck his body around. But a lot of them,
all the other D-men, if you're coming across a Slough in Slough's rink, and you've got Wilstead, Gabash, and these big forwards just charging and high forecheck and pushing against the boards, it's going to be a long, tough, draggy game for them D-men. Yeah. When you don't have that, I love him, I'm set, Edgar Bebris at the back, who can just calm the puck down, keep himself steady on the boards and move the puck along. And I'm not saying some of their players can't do that. Christie can, but I think they do lack the size and physicality in that decor. I think it's a bit weak.
Yeah, but if they're going to be controlling games, on the other hand, if they're going to be the ones who are creating all the attacks, who's going to have more of the possession of the puck, I think that on paper, they are one of the best teams at doing that, moving the puck. They've got the offensive abilities to do that. But yeah, they've got to stick to their tactics, and I'm sure Tim Wallace has tactics which benefits those guys. Let's get into attack then, because they have got a lot of new attackers. Well, yeah, it's pretty much a whole new team apart from a few players. Where do you want to start with this? Should we go with the imports first?
Yeah, okay. So Tim Wallace, we've talked about him.
You know what you're getting, yeah.
Rory Herrmann.
Well, we had the interview with him. I think I agree with what you said earlier. I don't think he's going to be this unbelievable, just banging point. I think he's going to add a bit more to this team in terms of an all-round package. What do you think?
Yeah, he's going to be an all-round package. He's going to be one of their main men, and he's a big boy. And this MK team lacks that. And Herman's going to have to chuck his body around,
and he will do
presence well.
He will do.
But yeah, we've talked about Herman a lot, obviously, with the interview. So I wanted to talk about Dylan Lawrence, but I wanted to put a point on Dylan Lawrence, because I've spoken to a Fife fan, and you can only take what you get from him with a pinch of salt. But he's 6'3", and he told me he's the quickest player he's ever watched, but he's not very physical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take too much from that because I've never watched him play myself. But Dylan Lawrence, Elite League, he scored points in the Elite League.
He's a good centreman. He's that centreman which you want. And I think Tim Wallace has gone, I want a centre who I can rely on, who's going to win the draws, who's going to do the basics right. And I think he's the perfect player. He'll chip in with points now and again as well. 16 points.
He'll chip in with loads of points.
Well, yeah, he will. He will, but I think there's going to be players around him who actually get more points. I think he's come in to be that centre who's going to help benefit the players around him. That's what I think. I'm not saying he won't get loads and loads of points.
I think he'll bag.
We'll have to see.
16 in the Elite League, 20 in the Elite League. Players like that, I expect to come down, and I expect them to get the 60, 70, 80 points marks. They need to,
of course,
show their levels.
By chip in, I don't just mean 20, 30 points. He's going to chip in a lot of points, but I think the players who are the wingers who's going to be on his line, I think they're going to get more points from him because they're going to benefit more from him and just his overall being that centre. And I think that's what they've missed, maybe, just some guy who's going to stick to that centre role and who's going to control the game for them. That's what I think, anyway.
I expect big points from a guy coming down the Elite League who's been there for 4 years. That's just my expectations. A lot of these MK forwards, I'm expecting to come in, and I'm expecting them to to perform well. And for me, he's got to pick up that 60, 70 points as the centre for MK.
I'm sure he will do. And I think we're going to see a lot of these forwards pick up that. And as long as they're consistent with a lot, if the points spread across all the lines, there's nothing wrong with that as long as they get the trophies which they need to get. Anyway, let's get into the other forwards. They've brought in Rory McEwen as well from the Peterborough Phantoms. Another good centreman who can do the two-way stuff, can't he?
He's a third liner, which is good. He's got that two-way prowess, and the profile which Tim Wallace is going for is two-way players who skate well,
do the basics.
They're two-way, but they skate well. All these players skate really well. For me, this team's built for MK's rink. It's built for it. And Rory McEwen's another player who will thrive on the MK rink.
Yep. You've also got Tom's Rutkiss. Rory Herman's obviously living with him. We've touched him a bit in the interview. But Tom's Rutkiss, what are you expecting from him? Because he wasn't used loads in the Elite League, but when he was at Swindon, before he even made the step up to the Elite League, he was one of the quickest players we've ever seen, wasn't he?
I like Rutkiss a lot. I'm expecting a big season for him. And for his sake, I'm hoping he gets the top two line minutes. I think he deserves that. He's got a big ice pad again, and he's a quick player who likes to use it. So he's going to enjoy that. It's going to take him a bit of a time to adapt back into a national league. I think he's joining a better national league than when he left. Yeah. And I'm interested to see how he adapts. I'm interested to see how he's learned over the last 2 years from training with the elite league teams, playing the shifts where he can. So yeah, I think it's a big season for him, but I actually think the bigger season for him is the season after this season.
Possibly, but they got to win something. And if he's going to be a top six, if he's going to be a top six, like you said, he's going to have to be like Dylan Lawrence. He's going to have to be chipping in with the points because he's going to be the ones around him. So I think it is another similar profile they've brought in. There's just so many of them. Is Harry Gulliver from the Raiders, another quick player, another player who's really good with his hands, but also can get a lot of points in this league. He got a point per game last season, and he's going into an even better attacking team. What do you make of Harry Gulliver?
It's a great signing again from Milton Keynes, but it just seems like they're signing the same type of players. Yeah. Like they're all very quick, they're all very skillful.
They are, but the sentiment I think are huge to the team to allow these wingers to get the best out of them. That's what I think anyway.
I hope so. For me, the way you base a line...
I hope they don't. As Swindon fans.
But for me, you build a line on a two-way good centreman, which they definitely have. You have a skillful, fast winger who can normally snipe a puck, and then you have a power forward, a guy who can chuck the body around. And I think they got so many skillful wingers. But yeah, we'll go on to my point a bit later. But it's a great player in Harry Gulliver again. Yep. Someone who's going to want to take a step up in his career, and the battle for top six ice time in this MK team is going to be a war.
It's going to be nuts. A couple of brothers they've brought in. They've brought in Cameron Hamill and Carter Hammer, who are on two ways with the Thunder. So they're going to be playing rotating minutes, I think. So if they get injuries, they can bring in them. And MK Thunder have just had a game, and they were the only ones that scored in it. They both chipped in.
I really hope that... especially Carter, because he's proven himself at the National League, gets the ice time he deserves at Milton Keynes.
He was getting it at Leeds, wasn't he?
18 years old, and he was third liner for Leeds last year and got 23 points.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it shocks me that he's on a two-way. Like, this guy's a National League player.
He is, but the depth of MK, he's going to have to be on a two-way because he might not even be getting on the fourth line. That's how much depth they've got.
That's what I'm saying is, how are they going to keep everyone happy? It's genuinely a question. I really would love to know, because the MK team is so depthy, and this guy's getting consistent minutes in the National League, and now he's going to a team where he's got to fight for a fourth line position. And it probably will work out. I may be overthinking it, but they've got so many players in this squad who are National League players, and the two Hamill brothers are great signings. Yeah. They're really quick, and they've got a bit of a chip on them, which I quite like. They have this edge to their game where they're willing to chuck their body around. They're willing to wind people up, and they're willing to just dig at the older players. I think I really enjoyed watching Carter because he played in our league a bit more last year. No, yeah, I think Carter, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Before we get into the final big signing they've also brought in Ben Brown as well. Again, another he can play forward and D apparently to elite prospects, but he has played in the Elite League 36 games. He didn't get any points in the Elite League, so I don't know how many minutes he got. But he has played in the Elite League, and he'll know Tom's Ruckus very well, who played at Dundee last season as well. And then the big player is Ross Venus from the Elite League. He was rumored to be going to MK as soon as all the big boys left last season. Massive signing in it, Charlie. Absolutely huge.
It's big for them. It is. There's big expectation on him as well, coming down from Elite League. He's a consistent Elite League point scorer, and they needed this experience in their team. Yeah. Lawrence, Venus, Wallace, and Herman as well, to be fair. They're all quite experienced players to add to this team. And it's important for them because they've got a young squad. They've got young third liners. And someone like Wallace on that ice in training is going to do the Hamill brothers, the Ben Brown. All of these players are the world of good in training. And it's just one of the best signings in the National League.
Yeah, he had one of his best seasons as well last season for Coventry with 32 points. So he had one of his best point scoring seasons. He's come down to the National League. He played for GB as well last season. He played a couple of games. So yeah, it's a crazy signing. He's definitely going to be at the top end of the most points in the league. Yeah, there's nothing else to say on it, really. He's going to be huge. Should we get into the lines we played? Oh, no, one more player. Sorry, I've forgotten. Callie Robertson. That's another one from Bristol. Sorry about that. Charlie's laptop died, but we were on about Callie Robertson. He was huge for him. I didn't realise he got that many points for Bristol last season.
Yeah, and he snipes. He's a sniper. So the battle for top 6 positions is on at Bristol. Players who got top 6 minutes last
MK?
year. MK, sorry. They're not going to want to miss out, and it's going to be a war, but a good war to have if it goes the right way.
Yeah. Talking of battle, shall we do our lines and what we'd play if we were the boss of MK? Let's start with the D-men. You were talking about Martelli getting a top 4 slot, so I'm assuming that he is in your top 4 then, Charlie.
Yes.
Go on then. List your lines.
Top pair is Ben Soldier and Malik Martelli.
Wow. You're going with 2 of probably the smallest ones out of them all.
Well, Ben Soldier's 5'11".
Yeah, they're all under 5. Well, according
they're
to
not
the process, they're all under 6.
Tall players together.
But smaller. I'm going to disagree with the first line. I'm probably going to put James Griffin with Malik Martelli. I think James Griffin's a bit more of a bigger body and throws his body around a bit more. So I'm going to go with Griffin and Martelli. And then you'd probably play... Well, that could be the second line, actually. The first line, I think you do have to put Soldier on. So I'm going to put Soldier and Nags.
Same problem as the one on my first line. I don't think they're both very physical, but I'd put Griffin and Nags as the second pair. So we'll disagree on that one.
Yeah, there's not many physical players, are there?
Exactly.
I don't think Soldier and Martelli's very physical, if I'm honest.
I like that deep pair, and I think puck moving wise,
I think if you're going to have a physical player, you've got to play Griffin with Martelli, because I think Martelli needs that physical player next to him because he is quite small, but he's going to be doing all the offensive work. So I guess it is hard, and this is why we're not coaches, because it is very hard. And then the third line, you can put on Ross Green. You can have Lewis Christie as well. So yeah, either of them.
I like Lewis Christie. I rate him, to be fair. I think he's a good shutdown defenseman, and I think being a third pair D will do him good this year. I think
and he's the captain as well.
Captain, and just focus on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on to the forwards.
Yeah, the forward call. This is probably the hardest one. But I'm going to go with my statement. I'm going to have on top line. I'm going to have Ross Venus. I'm going to have Tim Wallace, and I'm going to have. Oh, this is so hard. Rory Herman. I'm going to go with Venus, Wallace, and Rory Herman, because on the second line, I'm going to have Dylan Lawrence, with Harry Gulliver and Tom's Rutkiss either side of him, because I think you need that speed next to him. So what are you going with? What?
I'm shocked.
How?
They're three best attackers. They're three experienced boys on the same line.
Yes. That's what Swindon did last season.
No, we didn't. We had Bailey on our top line. I would play Ross Venus, Tim Wallace.
Too experienced. Why would you put two experienced players?
Herman's
only 24.
And Tom's Rutkiss, the guy you didn't mention. He's not in your top 6, apparently.
Yes, he is. You didn't listen. I said Dylan Lawrence with Rutkiss and Gulliver either side of him.
I don't remember that.
So I said, no, my second line was Dylan Lawrence as a centre. I said earlier, Dylan Lawrence, he's that big centreman to allow the wingers either side of him to get the points, and that's Harry Gulliver and Tom's Rutkiss. And you can have Callie Robertson replace one of them as well if the other standard isn't great. So yeah, that is my second line, mate.
Yeah, and then my second line, my balanced second line, would be Rory Herman, Dylan Lawrence, and I would personally go for Harry Gulliver or Callie Robertson. I'm going to go for Harry Gulliver because I think you need more of a physical presence on the third line, which is Callie Robertson.
Okay, well, third line, it's got to be McEwen, it's got to be Max Stewart, and it's got to be whoever gets dropped to the third line. So either Gulliver, Robertson, any of that. What are you debating here, Charlie?
The one thing I debate was, would I swap Max Stewart for Callum Field? Because Callum Field is a different type of player to go on a third line.
He is, but Max Stewart on a fourth line, that is nuts. He's literally on a two-way. He's on a two-way with Belfast, and he's on your fourth line.
For me, if you look at last season, you have, what's his name? Max Stewart on 14 points, Callum Field on 15.
Yeah, but Max Stewart played on the line above him. I
don't mind about this Belfast thing or whatever. I personally think I put Callum Field on that third line.
Fair enough. If that's what you want to put, that's fair enough. I'm not going to.
I actually think he'll probably be quite physical, being 6'5".
Oh yeah, of course. He's the tallest guy on the team.
I think he just adds something different, which I think that third line needs, because I think third lines have to be strong.
Yeah, he is. He is still really young, though. He is younger than Max Stewart. He was literally wearing the cage last season, was he, or at the start of last season?
No, I think they're both 2004, so they're the same age.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you just either or. There's going to be so much competition. I'd love to see other fans try and do these lines because they're definitely going to have different ones to us.
I think it's the hardest in the league for sure.
And then we forgot about Ben Brown as well. Ben Brown has played Elite League minutes last season. I don't know how much he played, but he played in the Elite League.
I'd play Ben Brown, Carter Hamill, and Max Stewart as my
It is completely nuts, and I'm going to go with you here.
We have Grinnell Park as well.
Grinnell Park. Oh my days!
Too many of them. There's too many.
And then you've got Hamills on fifth lines.
Well, no, the Hamills can't play. But this is my thing, right? You've got. And it may not work out like this. And if Tim Wallace shares out ice time evenly as it should, as it may be, these players will stay happy. But the likes of Callie Robertson playing third line minutes and playing 12 minutes a night with no power play,
from playing 12 minutes.
Well, potentially on a third line if you're not on the penalty kill or the power play. So you're looking at going from being Bristol at 25 minutes to 15 minutes, and your points going down or whatever. And I don't know if they're going to keep everyone happy.
But the flip, I get the happy part. But the flip side of that is you're going to get the best 12 minutes out of Callie Robertson because he's a bit more rested and he's ready to go. He's going to be more energetic if the mindset's right. Because these players have got to think, if we're going to win, I want to battle it out to get these big spots in the little time which I get. If they do get little time, they're going to be working their arse off, trying their best.
And it's about having the right mentality for these players because their squad is huge. And there's all of them players in their squad, I believe, deserve National League minutes.
100%.
Apart from maybe a couple of the two-ways from who were originally at MK. So you're going to have 5 or 6 players potentially who are not getting the minutes they they would have liked this season.
On the flip side, again, though, if they do get injuries, that's where they are the strongest in the league because they've got such good cover
100%.
to come in. And I think with it being a very long season, and we saw a few players get injured last season, they have got really good players to come in. But like you said, it's just about having the team bonding, coming together, fighting for places. Wallace has got to give equal opportunities out, I think, and I think he will do. But it is a massive squad, and he's got a very hard job on his hand. He has.
I've got a statement which I think I'll make.
Mm-hmm.
I think MK will have the best home record in the league. This team is built for the massive ice pad. I think this team is built for the MK and Sheffield arenas. But I don't think this team is built for the small arenas, the away games.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see what you think on this, Tay. I'm going to say it and I'm going to let you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough physicality in this MK team.
Enough physicality to what? Not to win a league? Because I guarantee you're still going to put them near the top, aren't you?
No, I don't think it's not enough physicality to win the league. And I think that, in my opinion, they're favourites. But I think if you're going to pick out one weakness, and I'm being picky here, like I said, I think they have the best home record in the league. If they can have a good away record, they'll win this league. I think the physicality of a team going into rinks like Swindon, like Peterborough, like Bees, like Solway. I've seen Solway's rink small. Hull. They're going to struggle on the boards. At home, this team's got momentum.
Yeah, they might do.
And they're forechecking you, and they're making sure whenever you go near them boards you pay, this team is young and it's not quite as sizeful. And if they can get past that problem, I think MK will win this league, and I think they'll win all they need to win.
Yeah, I think it could be a problem in some games, and I think they can afford to lose some of these games because let me tell you this: no team in the league is only going to get 5 losses like Leeds last season. It's not going to happen. So they've got to, even when they play bad, they've still got to try and grind out results. The one thing I will say is as well, with all these quick players, I think they're going to draw the most penalties, and they're going to get a lot of power play goals as well. So it is all flips and roundabouts. I think they do have the strongest team on paper. The depth-wise, unbelievable. The one point I made, obviously, was I don't know if their D's big enough and physical enough, and we'll have to see during this season. Swindon have got 2 big D-man in Jamie Smith and Bebris, so they've got a bit of a mix. But we'll have to see if they're going to be the dominant team in most games, who's going to have more of the puck. I can only see that swinging in their favour. But yeah, going to Bees away in the Slough rink is not going to be easy. We've gone on for quite a bit here. MK fans, let us know. Fans around the league, let us know what lines should they play, and do you think it's going to click for this MK team? Expectations, Charlie. Give your take on the expectations.
Okay, the MK have to win the double.
And what do you mean by the double?
They have to win 2 trophies this season.
Okay,
I think that's the expectation. And some fans will go, no, they just need to win 1. This team is stacked. We've gone through the players in this team. And I know I've been very picky in the way I've looked at their weaknesses. That's because you have to be picky. This MK team is disgusting. They've had 3 players come down from the Elite League. They got Tim Wallace, who was their top point scorer. They've had Harry Gulliver, who's one of Raiders' best players. Callie Robertson, one of their best players. Corey McEwen, Ben Soldier, Will Curlin. They've got to perform. They have to. They haven't won trophies in the last 3 years, and they have to perform. And for me, they have to win the National Cup and another trophy, or the playoff in the league. They have to. Like, if they win the league, I think the season will be somewhat of a success. I think it will be a success. If they only win the playoffs or the National Cup, I don't think it's a success, because I think MK have to win the league and another trophy. I really do. It's
a bold shout, and I think in terms of, well, obviously we don't know the statistics, and I don't know if there is a wage cap, because some teams definitely do have more money to give players. That is just a fact. And I think MK is one of those teams, along with maybe Swindon and Leeds, for example. They do have a bit more money to give to players. And for that reason, and because of how big their squad is, I think they do have a minimum expectation of winning of either the league or the playoffs. If they don't win the double, for example, if they win the league and they lose in the final of a cup on just a 2-leg shootout, which we've seen last season, Leeds lost to Peterborough, it can happen. and they get to the playoff final and they lose in that, I don't think it's a complete failure of a season, because if you still win the league...
I think if you win the league, the season's a success, right? You're the best team in the league, right? I'll back that. But I think my expectation is for them to win a league and another trophy.
Because what, your high expectation on what they should do?
No, what they should do, my expectation, not my expectation, because this team should win the league, right? It really should. Their team is so stacked. The only team which comes close to it, in my opinion, with depth is Swindon. So there's no team which comes close to it in terms of depth of how good your players are. And then you also have got to take into account the playoffs and the National Cup. They're great trophies to win, but the playoffs is 2 games, in my opinion. The semi-final and the final. I know you have to qualify for it, but you'd expect MK to do that. So it's 2 games, and the National League Cup is 4 games.
Yeah. The MK fans... I've got a fly on my glasses. MK fans, get in the comments, get on our social medias. What is your expectation as an MK fan? Because I think it should be high, and I think you have got the best squad in the league in terms of depth. Another thing which we haven't actually said, it's a completely new team. They've got a couple of returning players. How long is it going to take for these players to click? How long is it going to take for Tim Wallace to find the right lines? Which players play with which? You only get four practice games, and they are playing one against an elite league team, which is going to be very difficult. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you've got Swindon. A lot of those players have played together before, so they almost have that connection already. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, ones to watch. Let's get into it. We've gone on quite a while in this episode. Ones to watch. Oh, have you cut out, Charlie? Oh, no, there you are.
Oh, I'm still here.
Who's your ones to watch for this season? Who's going to be that guy who they need to rely on, I guess? Shall I say mine?
Soldier.
Oh, Ben Soldier.
I like Ben Soldier, and I think he's going to have a huge season for them. I think he's a reliable D-man who, when he's on the puck's calm. I think he knows what he's going to do, and I think he's the signing they needed, and he's that gem, because every team wanted a D-man, and MK got one of the best. Yeah. So for me, Ben Soldier, he may not be the most highest point scoring player, and I think it's very difficult to predict which one of their forwards is going to thrive. So I think the safe route, and I picked the safe ones to watch, is Ben Soldier, because I think he will just thrive in this MK setup. Okay,
I'm going to stick with Tom's Rutkiss. I'm going to go with Rutkiss. I'm really excited to watch him. I know he's going to be playing for MK, and that's not the last. That's the last team I want him to go to. But on that big ice, I think he's going to thrive. He's one of the quickest players in the league. I'm interested to see, just getting that regular minutes in the National League. At one of the best teams, if not the best. So Tom's Rutkiss is the ones to watch for me. Anything else to add on them? We've spoke so much. It's our longest podcast.
I want to make it clear. Part of me probably is slightly biased when it comes to MK, and I like picking them apart a bit more. We've got a big rivalry. I can't wait to see you guys in the rink next year, and I'm buzzing to go to MK. I would say best of luck, but I don't mean it. But you've got a really good team, and you've got some exciting players to watch. And once again, huge thank you to Rory Herman. I thought he was such a great person to have on, and
our first import as well.
And that's what I find fun with this all. I do this podcast with obviously my brother, which is amazing. I really enjoy that. And this series has been really fun to do.
Oh, yes, our last one we're posting.
Seeing the players and having a laugh with them. Like at the end when we're with Rory Herrmann, he's saying, we're going to kick your ass. It's fun. It's a laugh. It's good.
And we want that. We don't want the toxic rivalry. I know a lot of MK fans don't like Aaron now. We see it all over Twitter, and I think that's a bit petty from them. But it is a bit about...
It is petty. I'll say how it is. He's one of the nicest guys in hockey.
He is. It is very petty, but I like that rivalry, and I like the banter between us, and we have a lot of respect for MK as a team, and I think the reason why they are big rivals is because we are a bit jealous of them, because they are massive. So, yeah, I like it. Thank you for listening. I know there's probably a lot of MK fans because they do have a big fan base. Let us know who's your ones to watch, expectations, all of that. That is it for the team specials. We hope you've enjoyed them. We're going to get to... We haven't decided yet whether we're going to do one every week or every other week. We'll try and get some players on throughout the season. We're looking forward to it. Next up is our predictions, the big one. We're going to get a few guests on as well. And yeah, it's going to be nuts. I can't wait. We've literally got four days to go until the first practice game. So thank you, Charlie. It's been a long one. And thank you to everyone who's stayed the whole way through. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much. Make sure you're following the socials in a bit.
Peace.